Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tea List. I have my first special guest today, Karen.
Hi, everybody.
My personal lactation consultant. So, Karen, would you like to introduce yourself to my guest today?
Sure, Talia. First of all, I'm honored to be your lactation consultant, and I'm also honored to be your first guest. My name is Karen Walsh, and I am a board-certified lactation consultant, IBCLC, practicing now for just about 20 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah. I'm a mom of 3. I have personal breastfeeding experience, too, and this has become my life's work.
Good. What exactly drove you to choose lactation?
In another life, I was something completely different, and I had a baby, and it changed my whole world. Realized that there was zero support, zero help, not just for breastfeeding, but for birthing practices in the United States, and I wanted to do something to change that landscape. So I started volunteering. I became a La Leche League leader, which simply put is just a mom helping other moms through peer support. And then somebody mentioned casually that, did I know what a lactation consultant was? And I said, is that a career that I could shape my life around and actually pay bills with? And that was it pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what do you say to the women who feel like they don't think they'll be able to breastfeed?
So my first response to that is I want to ask them why they feel that way. And I think the most important thing that we can do for our women is empower them and validate everything that they feel is real. And once we get an understanding of how they feel about it, then we can seek to try to educate and support them where they are so that they can be successful.
So I know, like my mother, she said the reason why she wasn't able to successfully breastfeed was the latching.
Okay.
Is there any options for women who may have that issue with latching?
So for moms who are having trouble with breastfeeding, that's where we come in. So we can help the baby latch on, we can help her if she's having nipple or breast pain, we can help her get a better understanding of how the logistics of breastfeeding work so that she understands that the more babies suck, the more milk they make. So the number one complaint I usually get from moms is that they don't have enough milk.
Yeah.
So even if we fix the latch and everything else, somehow women believe that we're somehow inadequate and that nature would leave us without what we need to survive as a species. So broken down, we're humans, we're mammals, we make milk, just like horses and cows and cats and dogs, and there you go.
Okay. So let's just discuss some benefits.
Okay.
Is it true that breastfeeding can stop periods?
Yes, it can. It's actually supposed to stop periods because it suppresses ovulation. So when you're not ovulating, you don't get your period. So for the duration of breastfeeding, at least for the first 6 months, you should not be ovulating and then menstruating. So you might get a good 6 months or longer out of that. And then the good news is it can be used when done right and carefully. It can be used to prevent pregnancy for the first 6 months.
Unfortunately for me, that did not happen. I had my period every single month. Hated it. What about weight loss? Does that happen too?
Well, you're burning 500 calories a day without even thinking about it. So I would say it's the easiest weight loss I've ever experienced. It would be nice if I could do that all the time, short of having a baby all the time. But yes, actually. And that's why breastfeeding protects us not only from all reproductive cancers, including ovarian and breast and uterine, but it also protects us from cardiovascular disease because it aids in weight loss.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, cool stuff. It's not just for our babies. Everybody knows, I think, that breast milk protects babies from infection and disease, but not everybody knows what it does for us as women, and it protects us.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
And what are some benefits for the baby?
So, to repeat it, breast milk protects from not only acute infections like flus and colds, stomach viruses, ear infections, COVID, everything. It provides long-term protection from chronic illness later in life, like allergies, eczema, asthma, food allergies, environmental allergies, cancer, diabetes, and other chronic disease.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Should women eat more when breastfeeding?
A little bit.
So it's like basically.
I mean, where the recommendations are to cover the calories that you're burning, but moms should just be counseled to eat when they're hungry, drink when they're thirsty, stay well hydrated, and sleep when they can. When baby sleeps, they sleep.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it could ever be completely perfect, but yeah.
Okay. Do you offer any classes?
I do.
Okay, so how would one enroll and when are they?
So I provide classes based on individual schedules, either as a group or individually. We do breastfeeding and Lamaze childbirth. If they register through South Brooklyn Health, the classes are free.
Okay.
So we provide free support and classes for women in our community and anywhere else that they may come from.
Okay. What do you say to someone who feels like their partner's not able to bond with their child because they're breastfeeding?
So we try to involve dad in all education, or whoever their partner may be, family members, anyone who's spending time with mom and baby. We tell them that there are other ways for them to bond with babies, such as skin-to-skin contact, especially if mom is not available right after birth, if something needs to be attended to. Dad or grandma or whoever is her partner, and whoever she chooses can start doing skin-to-skin with baby right away. Bath time, dressing, undressing, snuggles, love. There's so many different ways to bond with a baby other than feeding.
Yeah, I agree with that. Is it important for a mom to know how many ounces her breastfed baby is getting?
Not necessarily. There are ways to tell how much baby's getting, keeping in mind that babies don't always nurse when they're hungry. Sometimes they just want comfort and they feel safe and warm in mom's arms. So they may ask to nurse several times a day, and this is like what I think makes moms nervous about whether or not they have enough. So we just tell them to look at the diapers rather than counting ounces, because one, if they're pumping, pumps are not measures of how much they actually have. More milk comes out, believe it or not, when baby sucks or when we extract milk with our hands. So a lot of people try to use pumps as measures of what they have, and that's not the case. The best gauge that they can be using, especially in the beginning, is diapers. So the more they're peeing, they're pooping, they're gaining weight in the long term, that's how we tell that our babies are getting enough milk and satisfied.
Okay, well that leads me to pumping.
Okay.
Should she pump?
Pumping, so there are situations where moms have to pump, and then there's other situations where she may choose to pump. So if for whatever reason baby's not sucking, baby's not latching, maybe baby came a little early, baby's in the NICU and they're separated, or breastfeeding just isn't working, or mom may choose to pump if she doesn't want to directly breastfeed, or later on if she goes back to work and she's separated from baby, or she does want a family member involved in feeding, which is her choice.
Yeah.
We meet moms where they are. So that would be indications and the differences between needing to pump and choosing to pump. So if baby's not latching or they're separated and baby's not able to suck at the breast, in order for her to keep her milk supply and prevent engorgement and infection and then losing the milk altogether, she would have to pump.
Okay, now is there a time frame where they should do exclusive breastfeeding?
So exclusive breastfeeding is recommended for the first 6 months, whereas they don't need the milk of another animal, they don't need water, they don't need food. So that's the recommendation for exclusive breastfeeding.
Okay.
And then at around 6 months, we start what's called complementary foods. Recognizing that breast milk will still be the staple of the infant's nutrition throughout the first year. They would breastfeed first, then introduce food slowly. Baby's not going to really get nutrition from that food right away. It's more like a texture thing.
Yeah.
They're going to be playing with the food and trying to discover what it is and what they should be doing with it, and figuring out how to swallow it, and making little faces. But yeah, and then thankfully the United States now aligns with the World Health Organization recommendations that breastfeeding should, if possible, continue for the 2 years. So toddler nursing, baby nursing, all good.
So if she pumps, how long can the milk be stored in like the fridge, freezer, or room temperature?
So there's guidelines we follow. For premature and compromised babies, the guidelines are a little stricter, and we follow the Human Milk Bank of North America guidelines. But for healthy full-term infants, we usually follow 6 hours at room temperature, 60s in a fridge, 6 months in a freezer. And if you're lucky enough to have a deep freezer, you can keep it even longer.
Nice.
Yeah, because it protects from bacteria, so it's very difficult for bacteria to grow in breast milk.
Wow, good to know. I honestly never knew that.
Yeah. Breast milk is cool. I like all the little trivia.
Yeah.
I like telling people little fun facts about breast milk.
So do you mind sharing your personal experience with breastfeeding?
Sure.
So was it like hard for you in the beginning? Was it challenging?
So 3 different babies, 3 different pregnancies, 3 different birth stories, 3 different breastfeeding stories. So my first changed my life forever. She's why I do what I do, because of the lack of support that I was given. She latched on right away after birth, and it was the side, I remember it, the moment clearly, as if this one single moment changed my entire life. Everything went well, and then suddenly, because at the time there was a lack of maternity leave that was paid in this country, and I had to go back to work. So this was about 3 months. I took 12 weeks FMLA. Yes, shaking my head, not okay.
Yeah.
But I'll save that rant for another podcast. I latched her on, and that was the worst day of my life, coming back to work. But through the support of my mom and Lactation League, which is how I found them, they helped me make it work, pumping at work and nursing the baby at home, and having my mom give bottles of my milk, and because I worked in the city at the time, so I had a long commute and a long day, so I was away for 10 hours. So it was a very big transition and very hard. I think harder for me than for my baby.
It's usually how it is.
Yeah, she was probably totally fine with my mom. But yeah, my mom, I realize now that I don't have my mom anymore, how much moms go to the end of the earth for their children. And she moved heaven and earth for breastfeeding to work out. It wasn't like, what if it doesn't? It was like, what do we need to do to get this to work? And she did whatever needed to be done so that I could have that. So, forever grateful to her for that. Then along comes my son, 5 years later, and he never took a bottle. So when I went back to work, he was like, I'm not having this. Despite my mother's efforts to try to get him to take my milk while I was away at work. The good part about that was I worked, by that time I was here at South Brooklyn Health, working as the breastfeeding coordinator, and I was only 10 minutes away. So I was able to go home to nurse my baby and then come back. So I did this a few times a day, which is probably why he wasn't, he just waited for the booby to come back home. And all this milk I was pumping during the day while I was separate from him, I wound up donating. So that was right around the time of the earthquake in Haiti. So a lot of my milk went to Haiti. And I got this really cool certificate that I donated 2,000 ounces of my breast milk.
That is a lot of milk.
That is a lot of milk. Yeah. So that's what happened because Christopher refused to drink it. Of course, later in life, and he'll probably kill me for saying this on a podcast, when he would get sick, I was still nursing my youngest, which is a whole other story. He would request pumped milk in his tea to help him get better.
Oh my God.
We'll hope his friends don't watch this. And we won't talk about, other things they don't want me to share on a podcast, but yeah. So along 10 years later comes Vivian. So now we have Erin, Christopher, and Vivian. And I don't know whether it was because either I was older or more tired or less patient. I don't know, but it seemed to be like it was a difficult pregnancy, a really hard labor, and then a totally different breastfeeding experience where even I needed to call somebody in to help me because, you know, when it's our own self, we suddenly have no idea what to do.
Yeah, no, everything goes out the window.
I needed help, and I reached out for support and help, so that even lactation consultants, you know, where underneath it all, I'm just a mom who needs support and help, just like any other woman.
Yeah.
My nipples within 6 hours of birthing her were peeling off because she had tongue and lip tie, which had to be addressed the second day of life. So I had 3rd-degree tears, so as I'm practically crawling with her to the oral surgeon to get this done, I could barely walk, I could barely move.
3rd-degree
tears, yes. So,
oh my God.
yeah, it's good. Right.
Yeah, things we don't talk about.
Things we don't talk about, but should be talking about, hence the podcast, you know, just the things women go through, and how we get through them is each other, how to support each other as women. And that's what my practice has evolved into. And Vivian's birth and breastfeeding story gave me a very different outlook, because before that I never really experienced nipple pain, or the only challenge I faced was going back to work. Otherwise everything was fine. Erin pretty much nursed every 3 hours for 45 minutes. Christopher came along and nursed every 25 minutes for 5 to 10 minutes each. So that was very cluster feeding is normal, but it's very exhausting and overwhelming.
Yes.
And I'm up every 25 minutes nursing this boy.
Yeah.
Hence we started co-sleeping safely, following safe guidelines, and it made my life a lot easier. So we need to stop telling women that they'll kill their babies if they sleep next to them, because
yes.
for millions of years we've slept next to our infants, and hey, that we've survived as a species. I'm gonna not rant, but yeah, so Vivian gave me a completely different outlook, because not only was she cluster feeding, but then there were times she didn't want to nurse. So aside from nursing my baby, I was struggling as to how do I comfort my child if she won't latch on right now? Why isn't she latching on? Why is she always seemed cranky, and you know, I could see why women tend to think something was wrong with the breastfeeding. Like that was it the cause of her crankiness, and you know, why were there times she wouldn't latch on? I could see if I didn't know what I know, I would think, there's something wrong with my milk, there's something wrong with breastfeeding, it's going awry. So,
wow.
So that's my personal breastfeeding experience.
Well, mine was a lot similar like yours. My mom was very supportive.
Yes.
And you really helped me, because I did not know nothing of anything when it came to breastfeeding. I know when I first tried the latching, it was very painful. My boobs were so sore from him trying, and then he started getting gassy. I started to blame myself.
Right,
Maybe it's
exactly.
something I ate that caused this. And just like you, Leon refused to get off that breast. I did co-sleeping as well, because it was easier, you know, having to wake up, get him out of the bathroom.
Yeah, who's going to the living room at 4 o'clock in the morning?
I'm not doing that.
No, we're not doing that. No.
I laid down, gave him the boob, burped him, and whatever, and
went back to sleep.
Yeah, it's so much easier for you. So that's what I did. And when my parents could, they came, changed diapers.
Yes.
So that was very helpful. But that boy did not want to get off that breast.
Yeah.
And whenever he needed comfort, it was on the breast.
Yeah.
He fell. Oh, come, I need
Mommy
you.
Mommy. And all 3 of my children had different words for it. That's how long I nursed, by the way, for them to actually verbalize words for it. Erin called it Milkies. Christopher called it Mick. And Vivian calls it Nam. Nam.
You said calls.
Yes, she is still nursing. And she's not old enough to be angry at me for mentioning that on a podcast. Yes, she's 5.
Do you plan on stopping anytime soon?
When she's ready.
Oh, when she's ready?
Yep.
My God, bless your soul. It does take a toll, you know. You also have to
It does.
be careful with certain things that you're consuming, like alcohol. People are always afraid about alcohol. Can you give advice about that?
You can drink, have a glass of wine, a can of beer, you know, have a girls' night. Do I recommend, you know, downing 5 shots of tequila? Probably not. But, you know, it used to be totally different, but now we don't even tell moms to pump and discard. If you're feeling drunk, then that's how you know
Yeah.
baby will feel the effects. Otherwise, just, you know, it's fine.
Yeah, I did not overdo it. I may have had a glass of wine, but
And that's totally fine.
yeah, but it was always, like even now, although I'm done breastfeeding, if I see a glass of wine, I'm still thinking, oh my God, I gotta be careful because
Right, because now it's part of your
yeah,
instinct.
it's like
Yeah.
still in my mind.
Yeah.
And even though I'm done breastfeeding, he still looks.
Of course he does. Mm-hmm. He always will. That bond and closeness will never change.
Lord have mercy. Yeah, it is something different.
It's very special, and I could tell you as the children grow up, you wish you could go back to the days of when it was simple enough to solve their problems by just putting them on the boob.
Yeah.
But then they become older kids and teenagers and adults with adult problems that you can't just quickly resolve by nursing.
No.
So you miss those simple days when that's all it took.
Yeah.
But I would have to say that I'm grateful for the bond that it gave me and my children, that we practiced attachment parenting and they slept with me, and I think in the long run it helped, because then even the oldest one still comes to me with problems, and she's 21. I'm who she's calling in the middle of the night as she's writing a paper. Could I read it? Or something's not right. She doesn't feel good, or something's happening in her life. And I attribute that relationship to how we started her life.
Yeah, that's very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
For women who may have had difficulties with their partners and ended up having to do this like with their parents,
Myself included.
can you give them hope? There is a light at the end of the tunnel, that this is not the end. Can you give somebody who's watching today some type of advice that it's not your fault?
It's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's not our fault as women. And our purpose in life is to empower and support each other as women and build each other up. And to remind women out there that we are powerful. We're mothers. We bear life in our bodies, and we sustain that life with our milk. And the bonds with our children is what carries us through those difficult times when we either lose our partners for various reasons, through divorce or separation, or something happens and suddenly you find yourself alone. Not all of us have parents to pick up the pieces.
Yeah.
I was very lucky with my first 2 children that I had my mother. Had it not been for her, I would not have had the strength to go on. But then things happen, and suddenly you realize you don't have mom anymore. So you have your friends, your girls, your crew, your cousins, family, whoever. But I think at the end of the day, it's the support and the empowerment we got through our children and being moms and strong women. Because somehow, even in our darkest moments when we think like we can't do this, I can't do this, I'm anxious, I'm depressed, I'm angry, I don't want to get up today, I want to stay in bed and cry. And there are days where it's okay to do that. That has to be said. There are days that it's okay just to do nothing but cry all day and have a panic attack and freak out and be angry at the whole world because everybody sucks. But then the next day, you get up. And you're a mom to those kids that are looking to you for strength. And somehow we find it. We have 3 jobs and we go to school, and 3 kids and a house and 100 other things. And somehow, as moms and as women, we find a way. Because that's what we do.
Yeah. Now you don't just think about yourself, you gotta put your kids first.
Exactly. Because it's about them.
Yeah. You have to build that foundation when they're young, so that when they get older, you laid that for them so that they can take care of their lives.
Yes. We're showing them by example how to get through. And although, yes, we put them first, we still have to take time for self-care. We still have to take time to feed ourselves, because if we don't feed ourselves, how can we feed everybody else? And I always use the example of the airplane. You know, you're on an airplane and the oxygen comes down. They tell you, put yours on first and then your children, because if you're not breathing, they're not.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to help them breathe. So I think of that as the example. We have to feed ourselves. We have to engage in practices of self-care, whether that's prayer and faith, or yoga and meditation, or any little thing that might make you happy. Go get your hair done. Go get your nails done. You know, go for a walk. Take a shower.
Yeah.
You know, in the beginning, when you have the little one, showers are luxury.
Yes, they are.
And then even still, as they get older, Mom, are you in there? Yeah, you hear the shower. You know I'm in here. So,
Yeah.
taking the time you need for yourself. Read a book. Go for a walk. Go shopping.
You just brought me back to the terror I had when I would try to get in the shower, and that's when he would start crying.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime meals are served, showers are started, or even as simple as I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yep, that's when they're going to start. Yep. It's like they have a radar. Mom is either, you know, needing a moment to herself,
Yeah.
or enjoying hot food. It's time.
Oh my God. Karen, how should someone contact you?
Of course, you guys can post my number on this podcast. I accept texts and calls and email, so I'll say it. My cell is 718-869-1377, and my email is kwalsh, ibclc4 @gmail, kwalsh ibclc4 @gmail.com.
Yes, so I'll put all of that in the description for you guys, the links to WHO and the other
Yes.
websites she mentioned for you guys. So Karen, thank you so much for joining me today.
It's my honor to be your first guest, and it's my honor not only to have been part of your journey, starting with our Lamaze and birthing class and breastfeeding class, but then seeing you become a mom and transform into the woman you are. It's just extraordinary, and I'm grateful to have that blessing in my life, so that I get to not only be part of mom's journeys, but I help believe in themselves, and that's the whole point.
Yeah, I almost didn't believe in myself, for real. Thank you so much, Karen. I really
Enjoy.
appreciate it.